Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
And welcome in. It's another installment of the Ravens Wrap Show here on Comcast Beach TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio, the strongest signal Ravens affiliate on the Eastern Shore, 93.5 The Beach. We are broadcasting from the Ravens Room here at the Blue Ox, 127th Street and Coastal Highway in Ocean City with our loyal Ravensers 44. Give yourselves a hand. I want to thank our sponsors, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, of course, the Blue Ox Sports Bar and Grill, Bud Light, FlyLady.net, the Ocean City Golf Club, G&G Outfitters, Ravens247.com, the Comfort Inn Gold Coast, and our friends at JCTickets.net. An enthusiastic fan of the crowd. I love that. Absolutely.
There you go.
Hey, it's week number 11 of the NFL. Game number 10 coming up for our now 6-3 Baltimore Ravens. We're going to be recapping the 22-17, I can't believe I'm saying this, loss to the Seattle Seahawks. We'll give our grades, talk news and notes. Also, John Harbaugh gets chippy with the media again. We've seen that before. We'll recap the AFC North and preview the upcoming game against the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm former B101.7 jock here at the beach, now at 105.7 in the Fan. Now at 105.7 the Fan in Baltimore, Mike Bradley. It's a mouthful. Former All-Pro Baltimore Colt Bruce Laird back with us once again. Good to see you. Good to be back. Tony Lombardi's under the weather, so Steve Pappas filling in week number 2 here. So welcome back, Steve.
I don't want to make this a habit, all right? Can't be a habit.
And OC local, former Lehigh College player and OC businessman John Gehrig. John, welcome back once again. All right, so guys, and I'll throw this again amongst you and let you guys talk about it. I mean, and I watched the John Harbaugh press conference, and we'll get into that. There are a lot of things certainly we can discuss about this game, maybe lack of intensity, certainly an imbalance between run and pass. You can talk about mistakes, etc. It still boils down to, in my opinion, and this isn't saying much, but the 3 turnovers, Bruce. Now, you can't say that if they didn't happen, that absolutely means we would have won the ball game and things would have been different. But at the end of the day, we sure would have had a lot better shot, and we wouldn't have dug ourselves we wouldn't have a hole, I should say, to dig ourselves out of.
Well, there's no question. And let's face it, no matter whether you're home or away, if you turn the ball over 3 or 4 times and they don't turn it over at all, you're putting yourself in a tremendous hole. And that's what happens against decent football teams. And let me tell you, Seattle's 2-6, but they played pretty decently in the second half. So you had to bury them the first quarter and keep it going and put them into halftime, knowing they were going to lose the football game. They didn't do that. They got the lead. And after that, it's anybody's football game.
And Steve, we talked about last week ad nauseum, I think, about getting off to a fast start. You don't want to give them momentum, confidence. It's a tough place to play with the crowd, and that's exactly how it played out, though.
I think, we were talking about this earlier, I think a lot of guys were looking, of course, John doesn't agree, but figure that one out. John doesn't agree.
I agree with you.
He doesn't agree with me ever about anything. They were looking at Cincinnati, I think. Coming off that big win with Pittsburgh, they're flying high. They got to take that 6-7 hour trip out to Seattle. They don't want to be there. It's always cold and raining and nasty out there, and it brings you down a little bit. It was nasty, right? The game was nasty. It wasn't very nice weather. So, they get out there.
This is why you're wrong.
And my thing is, they're thinking of Cincinnati. They think this game's going to be a win. I mean, I
think it's natural for players to think ahead, but I will say to counter that, John, and you may argue this, that it was a chance to take a lead in the division. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh were playing each other. We're also talking AFC seeding at this point. There were certainly things to obviously play for and think about. Yeah.
Well, we talked about this. Everybody in Baltimore was talking about this very same thing a week ago, and that there was no way I thought the Ravens would not show up. After the 2 losses we already had to bad teams, kind of coming out after wins and not really looking like they're not really prepared or care to play the game. There's no way I thought they would come out flat and then stay flat. And that's really what's happening. And truthfully, I don't know who the Ravens are. And this is really the first time in 10 or 11 years here, 12 years. I have no idea. This team has no identity at all. We don't know, what are they? I guess we're a passing team now. If we're a passing team, then we're a bad team. All right? That's really what it amounts to. If we're not going to run the ball, we're not a good team. So what identity do we have? I have no idea. We used to beat up these teams. There was now we're losing to these bad teams. I mean, Cincinnati just pounded these 3 teams we lost to. Each one of them they pounded. And now we're going to have to play Cincinnati at home. We'll probably win this game, and and then we'll stop talking about the bad stuff. They'll cover up. They'll cover it up for a week, and then we'll lose to another crappy team.
And Bruce, we'll get into the imbalance in the next segment, but your thoughts, how surprised were you? I mean, here we are, about 60 seconds here, but here we are after a big win, we lose to Tennessee, big win, we lose to Jacksonville. Again, it's very surprising to see the lack of intensity against the Seahawks, if anything.
I was totally shocked. I mean, like everybody else is talking about, how long does it take you to make sure that you learn your lesson, okay? Now, you don't think the coaches were thinking about this all week? And Papo and I were talking off air, if you had bad practices Wednesdays and Thursdays, that's another thing for the coaches to really get on them. Let's go, you got to work hard, you got to get this thing done. And listen, let me tell you, for the old guys, Papo, going away from home for 2 days is a blessing if you have young kids. John should know. Those guys went out Friday afternoon, and then, man, they were back home. So.
Well, we'll talk about it more. The Ravens 22-17 loss to Seattle Seahawks. Coming up next, more of the Ravens Wrap Show, Comcast Beach TV and 93.5 The Beach.
Are you embarrassed to invite people to your home to watch your favorite football team? Well, don't worry, because you're not alone. FlyLady.net is the support you need. Join us and our more than 600,000 members and learn how to crush the clutter and game plan your way through routines that'll help you organize your home and your life. Tackle clutter and get your home game day ready with FlyLady.net.
G&G Outfitters, Inc. is a premier full-service in-house provider of branded merchandise and marketing solutions. With over 20 years of proven experience, G&G continues to successfully produce branded merchandise for some of the world's leading corporations, associations, and teams. From start to finish, G&G Outfitters is your single-source, one-stop partner for promotional products, logoed apparel, and all of your branded needs. For more info on the services and capabilities of G&G, visit ggoutfitters.com or call 301-731-2282.
In April 1959, Art Wall won the Masters, edging out Carey Middlecoff and Arnold Palmer by finishing birdie, 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 par birdie. 1 month later, Ocean City Golf Club celebrated the opening of their first 18 holes. That course has been transformed now into one of the most scenic golf layouts on the East Coast. Come experience 36 of the most beautiful and challenging holes you'll find anywhere. Ocean City Golf Club in Ocean City, Maryland.
What's going on?
We're giving Matt the NFL experience of a high-pressure field goal.
Look out! It's terrible, man! There's an easier way to get an ultimate NFL fan experience. Just snap the tag wherever Bud Light is sold and you can win. Bud Light in the NFL. Here we go.
Hey, it gets easier. Really? No.
And welcome back. It's another installment of the original Green Turtles Ravens Wrap Show here on Comcast Beach TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio, home of the Ravens 93.5 The Beach. By the way, programming note, because of Thanksgiving next week, we will be filming the program on Monday. So if you're planning on coming down to the show next week, it won't be on Wednesday. It'll be on Monday. So just make that note. Hope to see you down here. Loyal Ravens Roost 44, but we invite all Ravens fans here on Delmarva to come on down to the taping each week. All right, guys, let's get into the meat of it. It was discussed at length here the last couple of days, the imbalance between the run and the pass in the game against the Seattle Seahawks. And I guess their thought, Bruce, was that they were down by many more points than I think a lot of us thought they were. I mean, down 12 at halftime. But even then, even when they go up a little bit more, when you're down, 15 with 14 minutes left in the third quarter, I still don't think that's a reason to panic and abandon the run.
No question about it. And they shouldn't have done that. And let me tell you something. They were going to run the football going into this football game. They had a lot of two tights, which they call diesel in Baltimore. So they had that package working. They could have gone to trips and back and forth and pound inside the tackles and around the ends, and they just gave up on it. They just stopped doing it for whatever reason. And let me tell you something. Let's think about this for once. We have two wideouts. One's a veteran and one's a rookie. That's all you've seen all year, except for Williams a little bit. And you're going to throw the ball 52 times with two wideouts in the National Football League? Are you kidding me? I mean, seriously, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And one kid's a rookie that you know is going to have ups and downs because that's what happens to him. And I saw that. I was just shocked.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if we forget, but when you see something, it's like a wife. All right, you have the most beautiful wife, and she's really.
Where are you going with this, John?
But you see her every day, right? So you forget maybe how beautiful she is. That's what we have with Ray Rice. We have one of the best players in the league right on our team. We can just lean on him. And I don't know if we forget that he's there. You know, I don't know what the deal is, but I can tell you those receivers, you know, they might be pretty, but they're not beautiful. You know,
John, I mean,
they're not the beautiful person that's in our backfield.
Seriously, I mean, we've all played competitive sports here. Think about a young kid. Papa, you did all your soccer. You're junior or senior, and you're playing with a freshman. You know, week in, week out, game in, game out, he cannot bring his A game. They haven't thought about it yet. They haven't got to that point in their lives yet. It's the same thing. And we're throwing the ball 52 times with 2 wideouts? In this league, in this day and age, when you watch ESPN and all the shows, balls going all over the place, 3 and 4 wides.
Let me ask you a question, because I never played football in college. I played soccer and lacrosse.
No, you're out.
Don't they have like a game plan when they go in? Harbaugh sits down with Cameron and says, "Okay, what's our game plan? You know, Cam, what are we going to do?"
Oh, absolutely.
So Harbaugh, when he sees that Ray Rice isn't getting the ball, can he walk over to his coach and say, "Hey, Cam, what are you doing?
He's the man.
Change it." Does he do that, or I mean, is he afraid of Cam? What's the deal? I don't understand. Because I was yelled at. When I was an assistant coach at Salisbury, I got yelled at all the time by Cottle. I mean, he was always yelling at me.
Of course.
Can't they change mid-game and say, we got to do something else? Let's get Ray the ball.
Well, absolutely. Let me tell you, Harbaugh's in charge there. If he says to Cam, I don't want the ball thrown, you know, run the football, then Cam should run the football. He's going to lose his job.
Well, it blows me away.
But doesn't that tell you then that if that's happening, you know, John Harbaugh is obviously okay with what's going on in the ball?
I don't think he was okay with it.
I don't see.
In the papers, he said, "What else could we have done?"
Right. He said, "I don't see any other way of
going."
Don't you think he's backing his coach up publicly? He doesn't want to. What goes on behind closed doors is different.
So he's either an idiot or he's a liar.
But Steve,
Of course, he's going to back up his coach.
He's got to back him up publicly.
Right, but Steve, let's put it this way, okay? Obviously, on the sidelines, you're not going to hear Harbaugh tell Cameron, we got to necessarily, you know, call him out in front of the players and all that. But he gets the stats at halftime. If he sees such an imbalance, he's going to go to Cam at halftime behind closed doors and tell him that. So he had an opportunity to tell Cam to write it. And
I'm talking about,
I think he's more on the same page.
When Seattle, 2-6 at the time, right?
Right.
When they come out and say, yeah, we were hoping that Cam would just throw the ball and, you know, become one-dimensional. Right. And we just kind of, it was like a bad poker play. Well, you know, we were just.
Should Harbaugh change that? Not you're saying at halftime. Of course, you get stats at halftime. I'm talking about the first 2 sets of plays. All of a sudden, you know, what are we doing here? All of a sudden, we're going to airmail it every game. Put Vontae Leach out on wide receiver. Let's start throwing him the ball. I mean, this doesn't make any sense.
Papo, but definitely at halftime, we probably looked at things and then talked to Cam and then just decided to let Cam run the offense. That's all I can think about.
Well, and to break down the stats, I thought it was more glaring in the second half because I did a lot of statistical analysis. I know you guys love that. But the Ravens ran 38 plays in the first half. 9 plays were targeted at Ray Rice. 8 of them ended up going to him. I think there's 1 incompletion. So that's about 25% right there. That's not god awful. You want it to be more 30%. But, you know, I think it was much more glaring in the second half, and we'll talk about that more coming up. More of the Ravens Wrap Show here on Comcast Beach TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio, 93.5 The Beach. I know.
Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill. Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
Welcome back in. It is the original Green Turtles Ravens Wrap Show here on Comcast Beach TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio, home of the Ravens, 93.5 The Beach, broadcasting from the Blue Ox, 127th Street and Coastal Highway in Ocean City with Ravens Roost 44. And we want to thank our sponsors, Bud Light, FlyLady.net, the Ocean City Golf Club, G&G Outfitters, Ravens247.com, the Comfort Inn Gold Coast, and our friends at JCTickets.net, Mike Bradley, Bruce Laird, Steve Pappas, and John Gehrig on the panel. Hey guys, we'll continue the conversation here. We talked about, again, the lack of touches for Ray Rice. Only 13 touches in the game between run and pass. I think it was 5 rushes and 8 receptions. And John Harbaugh, during his press conference, talked about the first half, 4 possessions. He said 2 of those went really well. 2 of them we had 4 or 5 plays on. And I broke down just the 2 possessions or so that, that we didn't run the ball as much. Now, the very first play of the game, he gets the ball, 2nd and 9, because you only rush for a yard. They throw the ball. Then they run an end around, first down. Then Ray Rice gets the ball for 3 yards. Then it's pass, and then they end up punting. On the other series, Ray Rice.
I don't know, what were those 2 plays before?
Pass. The second series, Ray Rice gets 4 yards on the carry after an end around to Torrey Smith, but an illegal substitution. Now you're facing 1st and 15, and it was pass. You could have mixed in a run somewhere. And then on Series 4, Ray Rice on first down for 4 yards. Then it was pass, both incomplete, you punt. So, in there a little bit, you could have mixed it in more. I mean, ultimately, it's a chicken and the egg. You say, well, we didn't get enough plays. Well, at the same time, that may be because you didn't run the ball enough.
Fellas, 2nd and 6, run the football. You still can run the football. I mean, you got a situation where you want to get them in 3rd and short. You want to start getting the mojo working. You got these big offensive linemen. It's like a big semi. You're not backing it up down the highway. You're going forward with it down the highway. You got to push that big old Mack truck forward. You got to keep those guys in what they want to do. They want to run the football. Offensive linemen, that's the only time they can punish these guys that are coming after them. 60% of the time because the league's throwing the ball? Right. You're backing up. You got to get the ball. And I don't know if it's just Ray Rice, it's Williams, it's whoever you can run the football with. But I believe at 2nd and 6, where's the screen? Where was the draw? Where was anything else? You had nothing else going on, and all of a sudden it was passed.
And Bruce, that's what we did with the Steelers game. We were committed to the run. We talked about the 3rd down conversions percentage against Pittsburgh, and we weren't afraid to run the ball. And we had a lot of 3rd and 5s and less. So it was a situation where we just, got out of it. And really with a quarterback that hasn't put a couple games together. So,
and the sad thing, guys, and Steve, I mean, is Ray Rice 5 for 27? That's a 5.4 yard average. I mean, when he did get the ball, and he was obviously very productive. They were 13th against the run, which is, not bad, but we were obviously having success.
And I thought for sure when's the last time you saw an end around work for the Ravens?
We had 2. We had 2 work. That makes up for.
So you're thinking Cam's got this down. The ends are coming in and really trying to stop the run. So let's get outside. We get outside. I'm thinking that's setting up the run, and then that was the end of that for the most part.
Well, there's one big question. No one's even talked about it. Special teams. Special teams were horrible. Where were they? Cundiff. He hasn't hit a field goal outside 50. What is he? 1 for 6 or something like that?
1 for 9, actually. Yeah.
1 for 9.
That, to be fair, that is his limit. So they were testing it there with him.
He was, and before practice, he was hitting him at 55 yards.
Yeah, but
he even said, he even said that he misjudged the win.
Yeah.
And 2, I mean, that's David Reed.
Yep. Not 1 but 2.
They're momentum killers. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, you're getting all pumped up, momentum killer. Everything stops. Defense has to come back on the field. It's a momentum killer.
Absolutely, Papo, especially on the road. Great field position. Sure, they held them to 3. That's wonderful. That's what you're supposed to do defensively. You want to do that. They were able to do that, but the offense, again, couldn't come back and get anything going. And one of these days, and we said it all the time, John, one of these days you're going to have to score 30-some points a game to win football games. Your defenses are going to be there for you.
Sometimes, in the team game, sometimes other parts of your team need to pick up the slack. And those turnovers were crucial, but this is a team that could be beaten. The Ravens are a good enough team to overcome mistakes against a bad let's remember, this is a bad Seahawk team, period. So, the turnover should not have been the reason we lost the game.
I don't think they were. I don't think they're horrible. I mean, you could call them
this
bad.
This guy, the quarterback, has a almost torn pec, okay?
I understand.
And that's one of the most painful injuries you have. And we didn't touch him hardly at all. No. I mean, we should have been, the coaches should have said, every time you run past him, hit him. Just hit him.
Hey, John, Tony, man. It's a game. Look, no question.
We made it like he was in a limbo back there. Oh, I'm chilling out. I'll throw it to him. And Jameel McLean's trying to cover a running back. I mean, he's running all over the place.
Where was T.
We're making this guy look like an
I mean, that's the day off. Those are all things we need.
Took the day off.
Those are all things we need to get into as well. All I'm saying is, I don't think they're as bad as a record reflected coming in. At the end of the day, clearly we should have won that football game. No question about it. Pete Carroll's not a very good coach. As a whole, maybe a good defensive guy. But, again, third loss on the road after a big win. And there's a trend. John Harbaugh says there's not a trend. Each game has its own unique circumstances, etc. No. But we got a break here. We'll talk about it more coming up. It is the Ravens Wrap Show here on Comcast Speech TV at 93.5 The Beast.
G&G Outfitters, Inc. is a premier full-service in-house provider of branded merchandise and marketing solutions. With over 20 years of proven experience, G&G continues to successfully produce branded merchandise for some of the world's leading corporations, associations, and teams. From start to finish, G&G Outfitters is your single-source, one-stop partner for promotional products, logoed apparel, and all of your branded needs. For more info on the services and capabilities of G&G, visit ggoutfitters.com or call 301-731-2282.
Come see us at Blue Ox.
What's this all about?
We're giving Rich the NFL experience of a goal line dive.
Clearly.
There's an easier way to get an ultimate NFL fan experience. Just snap the tag wherever Bud Light is sold and you could win. Bud Light in the NFL. Here we go.
Can I make it?
On the internet, yes. Into the end zone, no.
Are you embarrassed to invite people to your home to watch your favorite football team? Well, don't worry, because you're not alone. FlyLady.net is the support you need. Join us and our more than 600,000 members and learn how to crush the clutter and game plan your way through routines that'll help you organize your home and your life. Tackle clutter and get your home game day ready with FlyLady.net.
Welcome back in. It is the Ravens Wrap Show, the original Green Turtles Ravens Wrap Show here on Comcast Speech TV and 93.5 The Beach, broadcasting from the Blue Ox, 127th Street and Coastal Highway in Ocean City. The Ravens Room, Ravens Roost 44. Give yourselves a hand. Guys, and there's a lot more to get into with the game, but I do want to throw a little bit of an alternative view with this game. And I agree with everything you're saying, the imbalance, etc. But the one thing that on the flip argument you can see, if you're Cam Cameron sitting there on Monday, is, okay, if you take a look at this game, you had 3 turnovers in the game. 2 by David Reed, the Joe Flacco tip. That was a good play by Seattle, but nonetheless, you had 3 turnovers in the game. In addition, Joe Flacco missed. Okay, Torrey Smith not once but twice on plays that, at least one of which, maybe both could have been touchdowns. Okay, you've got 2 missed field goals. You have 6 dropped passes in the game. Okay, even if just some of those end up coming to fruition, you got maybe another 10, 13 points on the board. Ravens win the game. So as much as I, agree with with what you're saying, we can't overlook the fact that there were plays to be had out there in the passing game that weren't made. You had drops, you had overthrows. The offensive line did protect well. So that it's another way to look at it that, we could have come out of this game with that imbalance and still won the football game. At the end of the day, John, call the plays, execute the plays, no matter what they are, as the players say, execute the plays. There were plays that Cam Cameron called that were good plays that weren't executed.
There's no question about that. That's what we were talking about. So not every, this is the NFL. And even though I said the Seattle Seahawks are a bad team, they are still, those 53 players are still 53 of the best players in the world. Okay, so they're still professional athletes getting paid. So not every game is going to have a perfect flow. You're always going to find a game where you're going to have some sort of critical comment. So you're going to have to overcome problems, all right, in any game. So you have to overcome those turnovers. And to do that, you need to execute plays, just like you're saying. I agree 100%. Your quarterback, when Torrey Smith makes a stop and go move, and he leaves his defender in the dust, and all you see is this back, and Flacco only sees the back of his jersey, his numbers. He cannot overthrow him. That is like the worst. That's the one thing you can't do. Underthrow him so bad that the worst thing that can happen is a pass interference. Do anything but let the ball hit the ground 5 yards ahead of your receiver. So we didn't execute a lot of drop balls on good throws by Joe. So you're right.
He missed Dennis Pitta in the end zone, too, if he throws the ball earlier. Again, all I'm saying is it seems like, Bruce, what gets talked about more certainly is Cam's got his share of the Lions, or the Lions' share of things that he hasn't done right. But we don't usually talk too much about, well, Cam called plays that weren't executed that were there. I mean, how many drops does Torrey Smith have this year where he's open? And, Joe misses guys with throws. So that never really gets talked about, though.
No, it really doesn't. But at the end of the day, like John was talking about, good football teams overcome adversity on the field and win those games, however way they can, through defense, offense, special teams. And when Joe has been as inconsistent as he has been, that brings a problem out, because at the end of the day, the Baltimore Ravens defense could not get off the field. We're going to talk about that later, I'm sure, in the program. But sure, you look at all that, but Ray Rice was still only 5 rushes. It just bothers me. It just bothers me on the road, knowing what kind of football team Seattle is in the second half.
John Harbaugh, one of the things he did say was that in addition to the lead that he felt that obviously was bigger than what we thought, there were certain fronts that Seattle showed that, for instance, the pass that Joe Flacco got tipped, intercepted, that was a run play. They got a look by Seattle. They checked off to a pass play there because it was a better call, So, I mean, that's some of his explanation.
Mike, do you have the stats on how many blitzes the Ravens had? How many times they
I don't, but I think that's an excellent point. In the last
a lot of guys weren't there. Yep. Suggs wasn't there. Where was Ed Reed? I mean, I didn't see it. I mean, he's not going to come up because he's not going to hit anybody, but someone's got to come up. If you were playing, would you take, hey, coach, let me take a shot?
But no, Steve brings up a good point, though, guys. I mean, we have not gotten pressure the last 2 weeks on either one of those quarterbacks. We haven't sent blitz back.
One sack each game against 2 of the worst pass-protecting teams in the league.
29 coming in. Right, Kruger had 1 sack. That was it. And yeah, Steve, I would tend to say the amount of blitz packages you could probably count on one hand. We just didn't bring those combinations.
This is against a quarterback who, number one, isn't good. Who we didn't even know really if he was going to play. And we didn't touch him. A guy that's hurt with, like I said, the pec. I mean, this guy needs to be hit. He doesn't need to be sacked. We don't need to sack him. But at least get close enough to him that touching him isn't going to be a penalty.
How do you explain that? How do you explain that last couple of weeks, Bruce? I mean, have you seen? I haven't seen many blitz packages or pressure packages.
No, I haven't. And you know what? Chuck Pagano has been able to get away with sending 5 and playing coverage for a long time. Right. Last 2 weeks, he hasn't been able to do it, and he hasn't sent the all-out blitz. The 6 guys going after the quarterback, which leaves everybody man on man. Okay, you don't have Ed Reed in the middle spying around. So you haven't seen that. So I don't know what's going on with that, but you haven't seen it from Pagano.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right. And we talk about in-game adjustments. I thought he should have adjusted and sent some packages out there. We do need to talk about the defense coming up. We don't have enough time, but we need to talk about the defense because they're clearly not to blame for this game, as a whole. But they're not exactly scot-free of this entire loss.
There are times when you need to earn your paycheck.
Right, exactly. So we'll talk about that more coming up. It is the Ravens Drive Show here at the Ravens Room, the Blue Ox on Comcast Beach TV. Oh, yeah. And 93.5 The Beach.
Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
We'll be right back.
Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
And welcome back in. It is the Ravens Wrap Show here at the Blue Ox, 127th Street and Coastal Highway in Ocean City on Comcast Beach TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio 93.5 The Beach. Hey, I want to thank our sponsors, the original Green Turtle, of course, the Blue Ox, Bud Light, FlyLady.net, the Ocean City Golf Club, G&G Outfitters, Ravens247.com, and of course we wish Tony Lombardi well wishes. I know he's pretty under the weather.
It was symbolic for this week's Ravens performance.
Yeah, well,
He just didn't show up.
Very sick. Yeah. The Comfort in Gold Coast at jctickets.net. Mike Bradley, Bruce Laird, Steve Pappas, and John Garrigan. Two quick stats before we come into this segment. The NFC West guys went 4-0 on Sunday with the Rams beating the Browns, the Cardinals beat the Eagles, the Seahawks beating the Ravens, 49ers beating the Giants. Since the divisions were realigned in 2002, 4 teams had never won in the same week. So we helped that cause. Also, and Bruce had a great stat. He showed me that coming into this game, Seattle in the second half was one of the teams that had given up the fewest second half points by a defensive unit. So, you talk about digging yourself a hole. That second half, that has been a stingy defense. So, it was obviously important for them to get off to a quick start, an early start, and they didn't do that.
Well, Mike, that's exactly what the coaching staff was telling the players all week long. Understand, this team has never led at halftime, but 2-6, don't be deceived by that. These guys are continuing to play hard, and that defense will really bring it in the second half. So you really had to get your business done the first 30 minutes of this football game. And that's what happens when you play teams that you should beat. It's been from the 70s, 80s, even before that. If you're out there, especially on the road, if you don't bury them early, you give them life, and they feed off their fans. They feed off the fact that, they haven't been winning, and why? Because they've been beating themselves, and that's what Coach Carroll was Pete Carroll was talking about when he talked about Seattle. It hasn't been the reason we haven't won is because we continue to beat ourselves, and guess what? We let them in. We let them off the hook.
Steve and John, we were talking a little bit, and Steve, you brought up about pressuring the quarterback, but talking about the defense again. They're mostly not to blame for this loss, but at the end of the day, let's take a look at it. The linebackers had a horrible game, especially in pass coverage and covering Marshawn Lynch. Chris Carr had an awful game. You mentioned Terrell Suggs. I thought he got held a decent amount, but at the end of the day, he didn't make enough plays. Guys up front in the middle, let's face it, Marshawn Lynch ended up with over 100 yards. He had the yards per carry at the end of the day, 3.4 yards. That's not great, but they gashed us enough at times, I thought, that take a look at it, and there were some issues there defensively Sunday, too.
That's case closed, though. That's what happens. They controlled the clock. He didn't have a spectacular day on the ground, but you just grind that out over the course of a game, and that's what happens. And in the fourth quarter, you're wearing the other team out because you're controlling the clock, and the Ravens haven't gotten to that point. Remember the glory days? Since when do we think the glory days are bringing Billick back and just running Jamal Lewis 40 times? You know what I mean? That's where we're at right now. That's truly,
yeah, that's a good point.
But we knew what we were then. We knew we had an identity then. We were just going to punch you in the mouth, then we're going to punch you in the stomach, and then we're going to punch you in the mouth again. And then, oh, by the way, we're going to punch you in the mouth again. Now we're just kind of, let's play around, slap you around here, slap you on the butt. And then Harbaugh wants to say, oh, it's not my job to answer your questions. And then when we beat the Steelers, I'm a big guy. I'm a big guy now.
Steve, did you see that press conference?
That's yes. A joke.
I have to say this. I'm a big Harbaugh fan. Well, the Steeler one and the one after the Seahawks game. Look, I'm a John Harbaugh fan, but there's a level of arrogance there. And, let's face it, after the Pittsburgh game, I'm glad he's happy and all that. He went a little overboard with that, but I'll be damned. The Monday after that Seahawks loss, Steve, he's arrogant, he's indignant, he's not taking responsibility. Hey, he treated the press like crap, I thought. And one of my co-workers over at CBS at 105.7 The Fan, Mark Zeno, got killed in that press conference.
Well, what I didn't like was it didn't seem like he was mad. Remember Herm Edwards? He was the one that, playoffs? Was he? Playoffs? Harbaugh just seemed like, he was making excuses for everything that we did or coming up with solutions. But the bottom line is you got to get pissed. You got to get mad and say, you know what? We didn't do this. We didn't execute. I'm going to talk to Cam, find out what the hell's going on here. You got to get mad.
Well,
There's no emotion there.
And he
had an emotion when he started citing that, whatever it was, that speech that he was reading off after the Steelers game.
And his talking to the media, Bruce, he acts as if nobody in the media, and clearly none of us know as much as those guys have forgotten in football. No one's claiming that. But to say that, we'll have football answers, we'll take care of it on the inside. I talked to Ray Rice, he knows football. I mean, he's making it sound like that all of us in the media don't know football, don't know what we're talking about. And I've got a problem with the way he handles wins and the way he handles losses.
But wait, one second. Remember, winning takes care of all the problems. Because Harbaugh's a good coach, and we all know that. I mean, he's a great coach. We all like him. If you lose, all of a sudden, you start pointing fingers. If you win, it takes care of all your problems, no matter who you are. Just like Tebow right now. Yeah. They say the guy's the worst quarterback to start ever in the NFL, but he keeps winning. It's winning, so you don't question it. I'm sorry, Bruce.
No,
30 seconds here, 30 seconds.
Real quickly, when you go back to that stuff, he said in his post-game comments that he knew he was going to take a lot of heat. He knew that the fans were going to be upset. He understood that the media and the fans, not only locally, nationally, were going to get down on him, and he was ready to handle all that. Well, how did he handle it? He just cut everybody off.
No, he did. He did. Football, he mentioned, 9 times in 30 seconds, So, anyway, we'll pick that up. More of the Ravens Wrap Show next on Comcast Beach TV and 93.5 The Beach.
JC Tickets provides first-class trips to Ravens road games, including airfare, 4-star hotels, game tickets, and cocktail parties. We also help provide great seating locations to all Ravens home games. JC Tickets, where the games begin. Visit us at jctickets.net. Win a trip to San Diego for 2 when you attend the Raven Rap Shows at the Blue Ox Bar and Grill on 127th Street. Get 1 free raffle ticket for every show you attend, Wednesdays, 7 to 9 p.m. Drawing is during the November 30th Ravens Rap Show.
G&G Outfitters, Inc. is a premier full-service in-house provider of branded merchandise and marketing solutions. With over 20 years of proven experience, G&G continues to successfully produce branded merchandise for some of the world's leading corporations, associations, and teams. From start to finish, G&G Outfitters is your single-source, one-stop partner for promotional products, logoed apparel, and all of your branded needs. For more info on the services and capabilities of G&G, visit ggoutfitters.com or call 301-731-2282.
What's going on?
We're giving Matt the NFL experience of a high-pressure field goal.
Look out! It's terrible, man!
There's an easier way to get an ultimate NFL fan experience. Just snap the tag wherever Bud Light is sold and you could win. Bud Light in the NFL. Here we go.
Hey, it gets easier. Really? No.
Are you embarrassed to invite people to your home to watch your favorite football team? Well, don't worry, because you're not alone. FlyLady.net is the support you need. Join us and our more than 600,000 members and learn how to crush the clutter and game plan your way through routines that'll help you organize your home and your life. Tackle clutter and get your home game day ready with FlyLady.net.
Welcome back in. Another segment here on the Ravens Wrap Show from the Ravens Room here on Comcast Beach TV and 93.5 The Beach. Ravens Roost 44 here at the Blue Ox Bar and Grill. Give yourselves a hand. Quick programming note. Next week we'll be taping the show that is on Monday because of the Thanksgiving holiday, so hopefully you guys make it out. By the way, real quick, high school-wise, wanted to congratulate Stephen Decatur. I know they came up short against Athelton in the playoffs, but made the playoffs for another year and had a good season, so congrats to them. Y High and Kent Island, big game up in Kent Island on Friday night, so I guess that's the next closest team. Best of luck to them. Guys, a couple of quick things, and then we do want to get into special teams as one of the audience members had talked about. A couple of good things I thought in the game just quickly. Ed Dixon, team record by a tight end with 10 catches. He had 2 touchdown catches. By the way, that was a nice call by Cam, the Ray Rice to Ed Dixon. That was pretty cool. Offensive line, I thought, provided good protection for Joe Flacco. And when they did run the ball, which wasn't often, they ran the ball pretty effectively. So that's pretty good there. But let's talk about special teams quickly, guys. John Harbaugh, that's his background. He made his living with the Philadelphia Eagles as a special teams guy. Now, Jerry Rosberg is the special teams coordinator, but and look, Bruce, as a player, special teams is probably one of because you have so many mix and matching parts, one of the toughest things to coach up. So I get it that you're not going to see progress overnight. But during his 4-year tenure, 3.5 tenure, special teams has been very up and down and inconsistent, and this year is no different.
You know, Mike, maybe we can look at the fact that they have 22 new players on this football team.
Good point.
Because
Good point.
special teams, you're going to grab some from offense, some from defense. Usually the starters will have to play at least one of those teams because you got a kickoff return, punt return, all that other stuff. So you're going to have to grab some of those guys. And if there's no cohesiveness and there's no real leadership in the special team locker room, it gets very difficult because that's the only group that comes from both sides of the ball. So you got offensive guys and defensive guys coming in meetings and trying to get their jobs done and done right to make big plays. And David Reed's got to learn how to hold on to the football, which I'm going to show you a little bit later. So,
guys, your thoughts on the special teams? I mean, it's been a roller coaster ride.
I think they're momentum killers. When you miss a field goal, it's a momentum killer. I mean, now you got to come back at it. Twice we did it, and punting wasn't great either. You know, for someone who's such a great punter, I mean, what was he averaging?
He had I'll have to check.
He
did have a tough
25-yard punt, right?
And again, Papa,
28-yard punt.
Exactly, for him, for the first time in like 3 years, you mentioned 3 years. You mentioned Sam Cook.
But he's the least of our issues. Sam Cook has been outstanding
he had his
for us
one
over the
faux
years.
pas, but when it's all with everything else, it gets magnified
That's
up
exactly
with all
right.
that other thing because he's been
contagious.
sensational for all the time that he's been in Baltimore. So he has his one faux pas, and that leads to another
It's
problem.
Bruce, you've hit on it before. It's adversity. You know, it wasn't a perfect game from anyone. And really, this was a team loss all the way around. You know, offense, defense, and special teams. And when we needed someone to make a play, it just didn't get made on offense, defense, and special teams. So on all three sides, no one made a play, and we in the game. In the NFL, you need to make plays.
And we still only lost by what? By 4? 4 points.
5
5 points.
22-17,
So what's that tell you? How good are the Ravens?
Right.
Nobody knows. No one really knows that.
Who are the Ravens?
I get 9-0 right now.
I get more concerned about us and not our opponent, about us beating us and not the other team beating us, especially in these games against subpar 500 teams.
Think about our wins. You know, Houston. It didn't have Mario Williams and Andre Johnson. The Jets,
still a good team though. But
Jets scored we scored 3 defensive touchdowns because they didn't have arguably their best player on their whole team, their center. Right. You know, the Rams didn't have their running back and their cornerbacks. You know, and that's why we went over the top 3 times.
Yeah, but we've been without guys too, though. I mean,
are you making excuses for why we won?
It goes.
I'm just saying.
It goes both ways.
I'm just saying. Other than the Steelers game, we haven't dominated any opponent but the Steelers.
Guys, we have about 2 minutes left here. We talked about the offense and the imbalance, and obviously we're all on board with that, although we agree that there were plays to be had in the passing game that weren't made either. But we do need to talk defense. I'm not going to beat them up exactly, but you know, you look at that last drive. I mean, 3rd down, Golden Tate gets a 24-yard completion there. You know, at the end, Marshawn Lynch fakes out Ray Lewis and Jared Johnson, aging linebackers there. They showed their age on that play. I mean, when you needed them to step up there at the end, they didn't. You know, there were times in this game where we talked about lack of pressure. Again, they're not totally inculpable. I mean, the linebackers had I just thought, terrible game in this one, especially.
Hey, Bruce, I don't know how you feel. You know, a lot of people talking about the 2nd and 15 or 1st and 20. I think that's a rear view mirror type of thing.
Exactly.
Who cares in that? You know, I'm thinking we just make it 2nd and 15, 1st and 20 on the 10-yard line. We're thinking, who in here didn't think we were winning that game? I mean, who didn't think we were going to even have a shot at a 1st down?
First of all, I was upset that they didn't take the down away because what the heck's the difference? 5 yards, you're back that far, take the down away and let them go to 2nd and 15. And at the end of the day, this is what we're saying in the huddle. Nothing over your head, everything up front, and you got a swarm tackle. So if he does a check down, you got to get there quick, 2 or 3 yards every play, no big plays. So you mindset for everybody, the defensive line, linebackers, and secondary is exactly that. Everything in front of you, nothing that can get behind you, and let's gang tackle.
I mean, everyone.
What happens?
John, we got to start to wrap it up here. So.
Everybody in this room, I'm thinking Joe Flacco, 2 in a row, last minute comeback, win this game with 2 minutes to go. I mean, and so defensing.
By the way, we cut the lead to 10-7, 3rd and 9. We give up a 50-yard play to Daniel Baldwin, their best receiver. Hey, as John Harbaugh says, we're moving on to Cincinnati. We will do that next as we preview the Ravens and the Bengals. Coming up, Comcast Beats TV and 93.5 The Beats, the Ravens Wrap Show.
Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill. Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
Welcome back in. It is the original Green Turtles Ravens Wrap show here on Comcast Beach TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio, home of the Ravens, 93.5 The Beach, broadcasting from the Ravens room here at the Blue Ox, 127th Street and Coastal Highway in Ocean City. Ravens Roost 44, give yourselves a hand. Hey, don't forget, we're taping the show next Monday because of the Thanksgiving holiday. We will wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. We'll do so next week for those that can't make it, but come on down next Monday to the Blue Ox. Want to thank our sponsors, Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, G&G Outfitters, Ravens247.com, Get Well Tony, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, and JCTickets.net. Mike Bradley, Bruce Laird, Steve Pappas, and John Garrick on the panel. And guys, we do have to move forward to the Cincinnati game. And by the way, though, I'm a little worried because Bruce, we may be missing a player for this game. We haven't been able to find him. You brought something with you that at breakfast this morning that you saw. What's going on here?
Yeah, we're trying to find out where Ray Rice is. Anybody find out where Ray Rice is?
We can't. Are you telling me Ray Rice is missing?
Missing.
We're not going to have him for this game?
May not be, unless you get
something. I mean, Leon Hall's out. Does that mean we're going to throw the ball 70 times now?
I have no idea. That's the $64 million question.
Well, guys, it's an AFC North showdown between the Ravens and the Bengals, who have had obviously a surprising season with a rookie quarterback, Andy Dalton. Let's take a look quickly in the AFC North. Big game last week between Cincy and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh wins the game 24-17, but Cincinnati Bengals played a very, very good game against the Steelers. I mean, they held their own in that one. So I think for those of us who might have doubted, we didn't know if they were for real, I think we know they're for real. The other game, Cleveland, the curse of Cleveland continues. You see that missed, that terrible snap, missed field goal at the end. So St. Louis gets Cleveland 13-12. They're a non-factor in this one. Let's go down real quickly the list of games Cincinnati's played, and I won't break it down too much, but Cincinnati, they've beaten Cleveland week 1, 27-17. Week 2, they lost to Denver 24-22 in that one. They lost to San Francisco 49ers 13-8. They beat Buffalo 23-20. That was a pretty good win. They beat Jacksonville 30-20. They beat the Colts 27-17. They beat the Seattle Seahawks 34-12 in Seattle, folks. They beat Tennessee 24-17. They lost to Pittsburgh 24-17. Bruce, your initial thoughts on this Bengals team?
Well, the big thing with Cincinnati is Marvin Lewis coming back to Baltimore, and he runs a 4-3 defense. He runs a lot of double zone, double man. He's going to have to make Joe Flacco read the difference. And let me tell you, the big thing with Joe is he's had trouble with a four-man front again, and he's had trouble reading defenses. If I'm playing Joe Flacco in this Raven football team, I'm giving you combination zones and making Joe read that at 1,002. I'm not lining up man-to-man. I'm making you read what we're doing defensively. And the young quarterback, again, for Cincinnati, he's had his problems in the second half, but they started fast. So it's going to be a heck of a football game at home at the bank. And we'll just see what happens. Who knows what team's showing up?
Yeah, really.
I really don't know.
And thankfully, this one's at home. The first crack we get at them is at home, where we can help pick this team up, us as fans here. But you hit the nail on the head. I mean, this cover 2 type scheme, the 4-3, and Marvin has always, even with lesser talent, has played the Ravens pretty tough.
That's what Seattle played for the most part. That's their base 4-3 cover 2.
This cover 2, and cover 2, and you know this better than anyone, Bruce, but the quarterback needs to be able to think when you're going there, and he has to put pressure on the safeties to make a decision, and then Joe has to deliver the ball to the right guy. So, it helps that we have the 2 tight ends because that's one of their key to attacking the safeties. Yeah. And it's really just a situation where, I have a feeling this is going to be one of the ugly games. One of the ugly Ravens type of games.
Steve, your thoughts on Cincinnati coming
up? Is Lee Evans going to be ready for this game?
Well, talking to Tony,
with a friendly ghost.
It's a possibility that Lee Evans could play Sunday.
Yes. That could be a big momentum change for the Ravens. Plus, who has Cincinnati really beat besides Tennessee? Go through your list.
They beat everybody we lost.
But Steve, does it?
Was I talking to you just now?
But Steve, to a certain degree, though, does it matter though? I mean, you play.
Yeah,
you
but
play.
everyone's putting Cincinnati up on this pedestal right now, and I just don't buy into it. I'm sorry.
Well, I think. Well, okay, but they've beaten teams that the Ravens. They beat Tennessee, who we didn't beat. They beat Seattle, who we didn't beat. I mean, at least to that degree.
They beat the Colts. Well, they put the Colts on our schedule.
Right, but you're. I mean, taking a look at a few of these, they lost to San Francisco, who's a very good team.
They lost to Pittsburgh again. This is a football team you're not really sure of. Sure, they're 6-3, but I get it, Pap. I understand exactly what you're saying. But then again, it's a surprise out of Cincinnati. They weren't even supposed to be anywhere near.
That's true.
You got a rookie quarterback, a rookie wide receiver, a new offense, a new offensive coordinator, and no OTAs.
And sometimes when you're young, you don't know what you're not supposed to know, and you don't know how hard it's supposed to be. So you just go out there and play, and they're athletic. They're young, and they're fast, and they're good, and they're just playing. And maybe without having all these OTAs, that's why these young quarterbacks are just coming out playing football, and maybe that's why all the rookies are surprising everyone, because they're not being overcoached. They didn't have all this coaching going into the season. But Dalton's not a stud, and the Steelers showed their class. I mean, so I agree with you. The Bengals aren't in the upper class yet, and the Ravens need to exert their class over the.
And if Lee Evans plays, I think you guys are going to be surprised how that offense is going to change.
Tell him to get his boot back.
All right. Well, we're going to expand more into the Ravens-Bengals game coming up. Big AFC North showdown. We'll do that next. It's the Ravens Wrap Show here on Comcast Beach TV and 93.5 The Beach. We'll do that.
G&G Outfitters, Inc. is a premier full-service in-house provider of branded merchandise and marketing solutions. With over 20 years of proven experience, G&G continues to successfully produce branded merchandise for some of the world's leading corporations, associations, and teams. From start to finish, G&G Outfitters is your single-source, one-stop partner for promotional products, logoed apparel, and all of your branded needs. For more info on the services and capabilities of G&G, visit ggoutfitters.com or call 301-731-2282.
Welcome to the Comfort Inn Gold Coast. Conveniently located just 1 block from the beach and adjacent to shopping at the Gold Coast Mall and the movie theater. Newly renovated and open year-round with a marvelous bayfront view. Visit us on the web at comfortgoldcoast.com and see our hot deals and great golf packages, or simply call our direct reservation line to plan your stay.
What's this all about?
We're giving Rich the NFL experience of a goal line dive.
Really?
There's an easier way to get an ultimate NFL fan experience. Just snap the tag wherever Bud Light is sold and you could win. Bud Light in the NFL. Here we go.
Can I make it?
On the internet, yes. Into the end zone, no.
Are you embarrassed to invite people to your home to watch your favorite football team? Well, don't worry, because you're not alone. FlyLady.net is the support you need. Join us and our more than 600,000 members and learn how to crush the clutter and game plan your way through routines that'll help you organize your home and your life. Tackle clutter and get your home game day ready with FlyLady.net.
Welcome back in. It is the original Green Turtles Ravens Wrap Show here on Comcast Beach TV and 93.5 The Beach from the Blue Ox, 127th Street and Coastal Highway in Ocean City. All right, guys, let's break down Cincinnati quickly. We went down through the wins and losses, and Papo, to be fair, yeah, I mean, they haven't beaten any significant team when you take a look at the record, but they play who they play. They did play Pittsburgh very well. Andy Dalton, the rookie quarterback, he's throwing 60% completions, just a 6.5-yard average, though. 14 TDs to 9 interceptions. He's only been sacked 12 times, so he's not spectacular, but he's getting the job done. They're 6-3. Cedric Benson, no explosive plays from him, but he's averaging almost 4 yards a carry. Bernard Scott's his backup. Benson with 2 touchdowns. A.J. Green, the rookie out of Georgia, having a big year, though. He's got 6 touchdowns. He's got 12 plays of 20-plus. He's got 41 catches. Jermaine Gresham, their first-round draft pick from a couple of years ago, tight end out of Oklahoma, is second, tied with Andre Caldwell, wide receiver, and Jerome Simpson is fourth, who had a big game against the Ravens in the last game of the year at M&T Bank Stadium last year. Defensively for them, folks, they've got 25 sacks, so they're only 2 behind the Ravens. They're averaging almost 3 a game. Their defense, and they're all getting it from their defensive line and their backups. Geno Atkins, right defensive tackle, 4.5 sacks. Frosty Rucker, defensive end, 4 sacks. Michael Johnson, 3 sacks, who's a defensive end. And their other tackle, Fanene, 3 sacks. And Carlos Dunlop, the other defensive end, 3 sacks. So they get it from their front four. They don't have to blitz that much.
That's telling right there. The fact of the matter is that many sacks, it's all coming from the front. That means they're not sending many people. They're playing a 4-man front, and they're letting those guys go fetch, and they're able to get to the quarterback. That's so difficult to have 7 guys back there in coverage. You can double. You can play zone on one side, man-to-man. You can do all kinds of things. There's a lot of first-rounders on this Cincinnati defense, and they're playing this way. Now they get the young quarterback. You manage the football game. We're going to do a West Coast offense, quick dink and dunk, get out there, get a lead, and we'll let our dogs go after it. That's the kind of football that a lot of people are playing now. And, you know, if Cincinnati can continue that and not turn the ball over, we're going to have to blitz. And even if you blitz, John, you may not get there in time.
Yeah, they just play fundamental, you know, I hate to say it, Raven-style football. They don't give up a lot of sacks. Yep. They get after the quarterback. They don't turn the ball over. They have a positive turnover margin. They're, you know, one of the league's best with the turnover margin.
Not spectacular, but 6-3.
Yeah, and they defend the run well. They have a great top 5 run defense.
Yeah, they're third in the league, I believe, in run. Yeah.
But they're not spectacular in anything on offense. They don't jump off the page at anything. So that's one of those teams that are just a steady, even keel team. And, you know, you have, you know, you're one of their playmakers now is questionable to play.
Yeah, well, Leon Hall, their starting corner, he's done for the year. That's huge, and they lost Jonathan Joseph to free agency to Houston, right. So that's big. That secondary not as strong as we've seen in years past. That's going to be a plus for the Ravens.
Yeah, and if we can get them in matchups where we can get behind them and really put some pressure on the safeties, I mean, there's a chance to throw the ball here, open up the run. We're going to have to attack with the run, and we're going to have to, and they're going to be selling out with those linebackers, selling out to stop the run. If they're going to be aggressive to stop the run, then we can play. And we just need to sell the play action, get the tight ends in the middle of that vacated space, and just try to be steady and move the ball down the field.
Steve, the good news is against those, we don't have, but one, I should say, we don't have just one. We have 2 tight ends that can attack their linebackers and safeties. I like the matchup with Pitta and Dixon against those guys.
Well, let's see what happens if Lee Evans shows up, and then you got Evans.
Get off on folks. He may play Sunday as of Wednesday. He said he's
Casper the friendly ghost. We're not going to have Casper
Lee
the
Evans,
friendly ghost back.
You got Evans. Well, you got Smith, and then you have Bolden. How's it going to match up against?
I think Roger Carr might come out before.
And I'm talking. Will you be quiet? and I think you're going to see a whole different offensive scheme coming in. I think we're going to run the ball like you said. I think it's going to open up the passing game, and I think defenses are going to blitz like crazy. I think it's going to be a pressure defense. I think we're going to come out with a whole new plan.
Like to see it.
Well, folks, we got about 90 seconds. Let's go down the line. Give your thoughts on how we attack it and the score, final score.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, he's throwing the ball out quickly. He's doing 3- and 5-step drops. We'll just see what Chuck Pagano puts in there. Does he send 5? I think he sends 5 a lot more than he sends 6. And they just got to tackle and make sure the ball doesn't get over the head defensively. Offensively, as usual, again and again, run the football, develop 1st and 10, have 2nd and 5 and less. Be in those situations so you can screen, draw. It's a 4-3, so they're going to play whatever combinations they play. If they're in zone, you can screen them, you can draw them. You get in that situation, but win 1st and 10. The Ravens have to win 1st and 10 for this game to go, according to my thoughts.
Well, your final score prediction?
I don't have one anymore. I'm not predicting these teams. All right.
50 seconds.
All right, 21-17 Ravens. Who knows?
All right, 45 seconds, guys.
I think T. Sizzle's going to come alive. I think Ray Lewis hasn't fired up. The crowd's going to be get into the game. Lee Evans is going to be playing 33-10. It's a blowout.
Wow.
Yep. 2010 Ravens.
2010 Ravens, that's from John. Tony Lombardi said 16-13. I think that, folks, we're going to run the ball a lot more, but I still think we're going to throw the ball a little bit more than you guys think in this one. I know you don't want to hear that, but Ray Rice will get the amount of touches he needs. Don't worry about that. I like the Ravens in this one, 20-13. By the way, David Reed will not return kicks in this one. That's from Tony Lombardi. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much. We'll be back next week. The Ravens Wrap Show here on Comcast Beach TV and 93.5 The Beach.
Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.